Hi, guys. Welcome to our first podcast. I'm Samantha.
And I'm Destiny.
So, today we're going to be talking about a very basic, topic. We're going to talk about ghosts.
Yes. Now, before any of you guys say anything, we just feel, okay, yes, it is kind of a basic topic, but we feel like this is something that a lot of people have kind of, just forgotten about. I just feel like the topic of ghosts itself is just something people brushed off, and I feel like these days a lot of people are more focused on, conspiracy theories and, crimes and stuff, but we're bringing ghosts back.
Yeah, we are. But before we actually start talking about ghosts, let me just first say that we are recording this on 4th of July, so you might hear a firework in the background. So,
Even though they're illegal here, you're gonna hear a lot of them.
yeah. And also, we're gonna talk about kind of our channel a little bit. So, we created this channel back in 2013.
Yes.
And we literally just uploaded 3 videos and that was it. They were about creepypastas.
Yes, it was because there wasn't a lot of that back in 2013. And so it was it was very popular back then. We were just very into it and stuff, but
Yeah, the biggest creepypasta guy was Mr. Creepypasta.
yeah.
So, yeah, and we just never continued the making videos, so this is our comeback video.
Yes, the comeback. Daniel was a part. He was one of our colleagues,
Yeah.
but he is not here at this moment. He's out doing his own thing.
Maybe
keep
in
in
the
mind.
yeah, maybe in the future he'll
Return.
he'll return.
Keep in mind this was 5 years ago, so
Yeah,
things have changed.
A
but
lot has changed.
a lot, but we're back.
Yeah, we're back. So, okay, let's just jump right in. So, first, let's talk about. Okay, we already talked about why we're talking
Yeah,
about, because now people are mostly talking about conspiracy theories and about the Illuminati, stuff like that. So now let's talk about the different types of ghosts. This isn't all of them, but these are the more popular ones. So shadow people.
What are shadow people, or what is shadow people? Whatever. Basically, this is honestly the scariest type of ghost for me because there really is no explanation. They're just shadows that people see in the corner of their eyes, or or shadows that people encounter, and it's usually not, they're not good. I know for ghosts, a lot of people say that, oh, it could be a bad spirit, a good spirit, but usually shadow people, there's no good shadow people. That's usually a bad sign if you see one, according to people.
And so some of the characteristics of a shadow person is that they're really, really dark, blacker than black. It's like a void. It's a void. And there's actually different types of shadow people. Some of them are wear hats, and actually one of the most popular legends of shadow people is the Hat Man, but we'll talk about him more later.
And I even encountered that.
Yeah, our Destiny has a personal experience. But yeah, so some of them wear hats. Some of them look like they have a cloak over them, or hoods. And yeah, so people see them in the corner of their eye, they kind of just run away, I guess.
Yes, it's very hard. Usually they don't want to be seen.
Yeah.
So that's why people usually don't get a good
look at them.
Yeah, it's usually you think you see them and stuff, and you most likely did, but I feel like shadow people are very associated with sleep paralysis. I think a lot of people have seen shadow people.
Actually, shout out, but we're gonna have a episode on sleep paralysis. So
Yes.
stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned, because I know that's something a lot of people have
Experienced.
experienced,
Including myself.
including myself.
Yeah. So the next type of ghost, one of the more popular ones, is poltergeist. There's even a movie dedicated to that. So poltergeists are basically ghosts that like to like throw things, move things around. They're more like
Aggressive.
more aggressive and
It
violent.
doesn't necessarily mean that they're demonic, but it's not. I mean, they're being violent and stuff. They usually like, they just like to mess with you, and like they want to make you feel scared and unwanted, and you know, they want to basically hurt you, right?
Yeah. So they're not so I guess like the generic ghost is like, oh, you see like a mist or whatever, and maybe you'll hear stuff, but a poltergeist will like close doors, slam them, open cabinets, like I said, throw things.
Misplace things, like they're very aggressive.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you want to get a good feel of like what that is, watch the movie Poltergeist, and you'll know.
Yes. There's also a remake, right, of it?
Yes.
Recently, I saw it. It was okay. So the theory for poltergeist, I'm actually getting this off a website.
Mm-hmm.
It's the website is called, if you want to visit it, it's called the Paranormal MD. So the theory for poltergeist is that it is activity that is caused by a person in the household known as the human agent. The agent is usually an adolescent or teenage female. It is believed that she is unconsciously manipulates physical objects in the house by the power to move things by energy generated in the brain. The kinetic type of energy remains unexplained, but even some mainstream scientists are starting to explore the idea that it does exist. So basically, the theory for poltergeist is that a person creates that that energy, and like they're doing it without knowing it.
Oh, that's interesting.
I actually remember watching an episode, I think, of The Haunted or A Haunting, where
yes, I love that show.
Yeah, so in this episode, I think like a stepmom or a mom and her daughter moved in with the new husband, so it was like stepsisters, and like the stepmom didn't like the daughter of the guy, and she was like subconsciously creating the ghost
really?
activity. It's a really good episode. Maybe I'll link it in the description. Maybe if I remember. So, okay, poltergeist. That's like one of the more famous types of ghosts. And the last one that I put on here is demons.
Yikes. I don't even like to talk about that.
Yeah, so originally I thought demons were like its own thing, like I didn't think they were ghosts, but I've looked on websites. Some say they are its own category, and some say it's a category of ghosts. So I'm not sure. I just put it down. So demons are like minions of the devil, right?
Yeah, they're basically like they're not good. Obviously, they're bad. Very dark. Something that you never. I mean, they could kill you. They're harmful. Just not good. I feel like that's more very like that. I feel like that goes more on like the religious side, because that has to do with the devil. Yeah. Right. So I know a lot of people that are not religious at all and that believe in ghosts. Like, you don't have to be religious to believe in them or whatever, but I feel like demons is very like associated with.
So I've read a little bit about them, and basically what I've gathered is that demons are like poltergeists on steroids. Like, yeah, and they also have like the ability to like transform into like a human form or an inhuman form, and they also have the power to attach themselves to things like dolls.
You?
Yeah, like possess you, possess dolls. And yeah, they're just really, really powerful. Probably the most powerful type of ghost, right?
Yeah, definitely the most
Yeah.
powerful. They're definitely hard to
Get rid of.
get rid of, and definitely something you never want to associate yourself with.
Yeah, never open the door to
Even
demons.
if you do not believe in that stuff, I just recommend you don't associate yourself with any of that stuff.
Yeah. And there's also, I believe there's different, or there's demons, like famous demons that keep like coming up, or like the same demon like haunts like different people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like even the movie what's it called? Sinister?
Oh,
That
yeah.
demon like keeps haunting like different families and like murders them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's highly
Yeah,
scary.
just don't mess with demons, I guess is what we're saying. They're really scary.
Powerful and something you don't want to ever get involved with.
Yeah, we'll talk about, well, is this a demon? Yeah, Annabelle, I guess,
Yeah.
could be considered a demon. If you don't know who Annabelle is, she's a doll who, I mean, she's a ghost demon thing that possessed a Raggedy Ann doll.
Yeah.
And she's known as Annabelle. They made a movie about her. We keep referencing movies.
Yeah.
We love horror movies.
Yeah, you haven't noticed.
So yeah, those are different types of ghosts. Again, there's way more, but I didn't want the other ones I hadn't even heard of, but they were boring. These were the fun ones and the most popular ones. So there are different theories for what ghosts are or how they're created. The first one that we wanted to talk about were that ghosts aren't actually ghosts as we perceive, but more they're from another dimension. They're people from another dimension that are crossing over into our dimension.
Yes, like we may be ghosts to people in other dimensions.
Yeah.
So that's one theory.
The other theory is that, and this is probably like the most accepted theory, like by the church and stuff, because like the Catholic Church believes in ghosts. I mean, they do exorcisms all the time and stuff. But it's that the ghosts that we see are people who haven't gone to heaven or hell. They're in purgatory, so they're waiting to get their sins absolved, I guess, so then they could go to heaven.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's another theory. And then another one is people who were like alive before and they were very attached to, let's say, a home, that when they die, they're so attached to the place that they can't leave. Like they don't want to leave.
They don't want, that's like voluntary. Like they don't want to leave. Like let's say like a family living in a house and the grandfather passed away and he haunts the house, but he just doesn't want to leave because that's his home and that's where his family lives. That's like he wants to stay there. So that's one theory for why ghosts are in places.
Yeah, and then they could also attach themselves to people. Like I've heard of many stories about ghosts that follow people. Like they'll think like maybe the house is haunted and then they'll move away and like they still get haunted by ghosts.
I know a lot of cases about that, and it could be, a bad thing or a good thing,
Yeah, maybe it's like, or some people say it's your guardian angel, or I don't know. They don't know. So
and then there's the ghosts that are stuck at a place that they don't want to be, that they're not at peace.
Yeah, that could, I mean, it's not quite like purgatory, because purgatory, you're like, your sins are still being absolved. But this one is like, they can't move on, like they're being held hostage, kind of like.
And we can see that more at places like prisons or like abandoned hospitals or stuff like that. Like, just they're stuck there for whatever reason.
Yeah. Well, again, I've heard of many cases where like it's like kind of like a good ghost that can't move on because there's a like an evil one that's like keeping him there. So that's like when, you know, blessing a place helps or whatever. And those are basically the theories. There's even a theory that ghosts are aliens or like yeah. So
that's another topic.
Yeah. Aliens. But
like watch American Horror Story and you'll know what we mean. She hasn't seen it.
Yeah,
but
I haven't seen it.
in all the episodes, like, it's just a bunch of ghosts living in a place for eternity. They cannot leave.
Personally, I don't know what I believe the theory for ghosts are. I feel like I've become, like, way more skeptical, like, as I've gotten older.
Yes.
I don't know what ghosts are. I don't know if they exist, but I just find all this stuff very interesting. So, I don't know. If you guys have any other theories that maybe we don't know about for ghosts, be sure to put it below. We'd love to read it.
Yes, we would love to.
So next, we want to talk about signs for ghost activity.
Oh, yes. Signs. Okay. So, there are a lot of things that you can pick up on if you feel like you are being haunted, or if you are in a place that is haunted, or if there's a ghost around you. So, number one thing that people say when there is a ghost around
that they feel
is feeling cold. When the temperature is very low and they feel very cold out of nowhere, like it's very random, like a cold room in a warm house or something like that.
Yeah, or like just randomly when you're walking in one room, there's like certain spots that are cold, like cold spots. Or you'll feel like a blast of cold air too. That happened to me in my room, and I guess I'll share that real quick. So one time I was like cleaning my room, and by the way, all the windows were closed, like, and I believe my door was closed as well. So it was like no air, the air conditioning wasn't on. So I was just cleaning my room, and I remember reaching down to grab something, and all of a sudden a blast of air just hit my face, like my hair even moved, and it was like super weird.
Wow.
Yeah, so
I've personally never like experienced that. I've experienced other signs that we will talk about right now in a minute, but another thing that people feel are chills. So we just get like
those are very common.
Goosebumps or chills, or your hair stands up on your body.
Yeah.
You know, most likely it's like kind of like your gut feeling or something, like.
Yeah. And this next one is pretty like pretty broad, I guess. You have like a bad vibe. Like,
yes, like bad. That's something that you need to. That's something that I feel like is kind of. I feel like your gut feeling is something that you should really like pay attention to. I feel like they say that your gut is like never wrong. Like you know what I mean? And a lot of people say that they pick up on like bad energy, or they feel bad vibes. They just feel something negative. So, and you know, your brain just doesn't come up with that. Usually like
there's a reason.
There's a reason for why you're feeling like that.
I think bad vibes could also be kind of like, you know, a lot of people say they have that feeling of being watched. I know I've had that feeling plenty of times.
I have had that feeling plenty of times too. Feeling like you're being watched. Just your feelings you should never ignore, because that they're there for a reason. So,
and the feeling being watched is like scary to me because my room is like in the front of my house, so like someone could easily walk up to my window.
Yes.
And I don't know, that always scares me.
I can relate right now too.
Yeah. So another sign of ghost activity is scratching. People reported having like scratches on their body, or even hearing scratches against like the wall,
or like in between walls and stuff. So yeah, scratches are not good. They say that 3 scratches usually means demonic.
Yeah, scratches are more to like demons, like not like really, or like shadow people,
or maybe like bad ghosts or something.
Yeah.
And then knocking as well.
Oh yeah, knocking.
Knocking, 3 knocks, they say, is usually not too good. So knocking in between walls or something as well.
And then, so people say that animals and like young children can sense ghosts and see them. And my uncle had an experience with my old dog, who passed away. He said that one time when he was alone at my house, the house that I currently live in, which is scary, we had gone, I guess my family had gone on a trip to Mexico, and my uncle was alone in the house with the dog. And he said that he was sleeping against the window, and Bonzo, my dog, was like staring behind him, and that he like started growling, and the dog was looking behind him, and it was just, he said he got really creeped out. My uncle has had a lot of
experiences.
Yeah, maybe we'll have him on the show
in your house.
Yeah, and in my house, so that scares me.
And wait, your sister had experience too with Natalia. Basically, so Samantha's sister, this was a long time ago. I guess she never told Samantha, but she told me. Basically, when her daughter she was a baby. She was like a year old, or maybe a couple months even. She was in her room, and her sister and her daughter, they live in back house kind of like, and I guess they've had a lot of experiences there, but she said that one day I think it was daytime, and she was holding her daughter on a rocking chair, and she said that the closet was behind her, and that her daughter started like, I think she started crying or something, or like she was like giving it or growling. I think she was something, but she kept looking at the closet.
Yeah. So yeah, people say like animals and children see stuff. And by the way, we have a lot of personal stories, not necessarily from us, but like from people we know too.
Yes, like family
and I actually want to have a series on this channel.
Yes.
A personal story series, so look out for that. Okay, another sign of ghost activity is plants dying.
That also leans towards like bad energy and
Yeah.
stuff, because plants and flowers, like if you notice that your flowers are dying, your plants in your house are dying, it's most likely because there's some type of negative energy.
Or they also say like if someone that doesn't really like you or hates you gives you a flowers, that they will die like almost immediately.
Yes. No, yes.
Yeah.
Like, and what if they like you?
They like you. They say if it's given like with actual like love, like they'll stay alive for a long time. That's what they say. I don't know.
Okay.
So those are some signs of ghost activity. There's a lot more, but those are the ones we wanted to put on here. So the next thing we want to talk about was hot spots for ghost activity in the U.S., because that's where we're from. The Winchester Mansion in California. Now this mansion was the mansion of the founder of the Winchester rifle, or the Winchester like gun company, and I think the founder then passed it on to his daughter, who was supposedly being haunted by the ghosts of the victims of that died from the Winchester rifles. And I believe she contacted like a medium that told her that if she didn't keep building the house, that the ghost would kill her or something.
What's a medium?
Like a psychic.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's why that house is so like, the design of it is so weird. Like you'll have like doors that lead to walls. They have
stairs that lead to nowhere.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a super weird house, and it's supposedly really haunted. I think maybe Ghost Hunters went there. Or yeah, Ghost Adventures went there, I know for sure. I haven't been there. I've been wanting to go. Like, I really want to visit.
Where is it?
It's in San Jose, California. Yeah, that's a haunted location that you guys might have heard of in the U.S. Another one is the Roosevelt Hotel in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
This hotel is supposedly haunted by Marilyn Monroe.
Marilyn Monroe, the famous
Actress.
beauty queen.
Yeah, the famous actress. Yeah, so when she was alive, like, she would stay there, like,
All the time. She loved, I think she even lived there.
yeah, she might have lived there for a while. Yeah, like, during that time, the hotel, like, was really popular and stuff.
It still kinda is, but it's not very, like...
It's not, like...
I think it's just popular because it's known.
So, some other
Being
people...
old.
Marilyn Monroe wasn't the only one who's, like, famous people that stayed there. Charlie Chaplin stayed there. Clark Gable. Carol Lombard. I mean, we don't really know who those people are. I know who Charlie Chaplin is. I think Clark Gable might be the trumpet player, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check that. Oh no, he was a film actor. But yeah, the Roosevelt Hotel is supposedly haunted. I actually, one night when I was in Hollywood with my brother, we decided to, like, go in there, and, like, it was dead in there.
It was dead?
Yeah, like, no one was in there, except, I think they might have, like, a bar or, like, a club, like, in there, and we just heard, like, a bunch of noise coming from there, but, other than that, like, no one was in there. Like, we were able to get into the elevator and go to the upstairs.
Wow.
Yes, and, I mean, I didn't feel anything when I was there, but I wasn't there enough to really experience anything. So, supposedly there's a mirror in the hotel where Marilyn Monroe's, like, ghost shows up.
So creepy.
Yeah. Oh, okay. The trumpet player that I was talking about was actually Montgomery Clift, and people have reported hearing his trumpet being played.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
No, I would never want to wake up to that in my
No.
hotel.
And actually, there's an episode that Shane Dawson, one of our inspirations.
One of our inspirations. We
Yeah.
love him.
Yeah. He went there. And he stayed in, I think, one of the more haunted...
Rooms.
The more haunted rooms. Yeah. So that's one hotspot.
So another hotspot is the Cecil Hotel.
Ooh, yes. And this location you might have heard, like, recently in the news. Well, not that recently.
Not that recently,
but maybe like 3 or 4 years ago.
This is the hotel where Elisa Lam was found dead floating in a water tank.
Yeah, so this girl from Canada, I believe, stayed at this hotel, which, by the way, now is named the Stay on Main. I think they're trying to, like,
Yes, because it's gotten a lot of...
bad press.
Yes.
Like, it has a history. But first, let's talk about Elisa Lam. So, she came from Canada. I believe, like, her family didn't even know, like, she was in the States.
No.
Like, it was very spontaneous. No one knows why she came over here. So, they found her body in the water tank, like... Oh, yeah, so the guest at the Cecil Hotel...
reported the water looking
Black.
brownish.
Yeah,
black. And it smelled and tasted gross.
Yeah.
And so the hotel employees went up to the roof to check the water tank, and they found a dead body. They found Elisa Lam naked. Her clothes were... I don't know if her clothes were there, or they just...
No, they were in the tank, but they weren't on her body.
Oh my gosh. Yes. And it was there for 18 days, I believe.
Yeah, it was very... And no one knows how, like, she got into the water tank because the lid to get in was, like, super heavy.
Exactly. And to get up to the roof, you need a passcode, I believe.
Oh, yeah, like no, she didn't
something?
set off an alarm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she didn't...
Something like that. It was...
So either they screwed up or something scary was going on.
Yes.
Because there's also video where she's in the elevator and she's acting super weird. Like, she's
super, like, it looks like she's kind of hiding from someone.
Mm-hmm.
And she's doing, like, these weird arm movements. And it just looks, to me, I feel like a lot of people argue that it had to do with her mental illness because she did have bipolar.
Yeah, she was bipolar.
Depression or something.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems something very paranormal to me, especially because when she's in the elevator doors do not close. Like, you can tell she's pressing all these buttons, but they remain open. And as soon as she walks out, they close. And I just felt like that was very weird.
Yeah.
And it looked very off.
If you guys want to learn more about that case, there's actually a really good video about it by Alana G. Alana G was a channel that did a lot of paranormal stuff, but also like murder stuff. She's no longer on YouTube. That's like
A different
different story. But she's no longer on YouTube. But I believe someone re-uploaded her video. So if you want to learn more about Elisa Lam, I recommend that video. So just look up Elisa Lam, Alana G or something like that. So yeah, so the Cecil Hotel not only was that weird, but the Cecil Hotel has a really weird history. Like, one of the guests of the Cecil Hotel was Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker,
the one of the most famous serial killers in
like
the
ever
United States ever.
Yeah, he like terrorized like California, like the LA area, Southern California. He stayed there. Also, there's plenty of suicides too.
Oh yeah, for some reason, like there's been a lot of people who have committed suicide. So there's theories about the hotel, like there's something
Like
there
evil,
that like that makes people want to commit suicide or commit these acts. There's some sort of attraction in that hotel, to be honest, because it's just weird. A lot of weird people stay there.
I believe that also there's people have been murdered there too. Yeah. So it's just a very negative place. And we're not going too much into detail to these places because we're going to do episodes in the future. And also, this is just ghosts. So I put the South. The South is like really haunted.
Oh, yes.
It has a lot of history. Like, I really want to visit Georgia because I feel like
Isn't it the most haunted, like...
I've heard, yeah, like it's really haunted there. Like, just Georgia in general. I want to go. But also, places like Gettysburg. So where, like, the...
battlegrounds.
Yeah, battles took place. Like, I'll never forget there's a video at Gettysburg where this family is, like, filming the forest. And you just see, like, a bunch of lights. Like, people, it looks like. And they say it's, like, the soldiers marching. So, I don't know. The Gettysburg, just the South is like very haunted.
Yes, very haunted.
And then the last one I picked was the White House. I actually want to read from an article from the Washington Post about the White House being haunted. So let's just read it. So it's called, the title of this article is called, "Is the White House Haunted? A History of Spooked Presidents, Prime Ministers, and Pets" by Teresa Vargas. This is from 2017.
Yes.
So let's read on. On a lonely night in 1946, President Harry S. Truman went to bed at 9 p.m. About 6 hours later, he heard it. Knock, knock, knock. The sound against his bedroom door awakened him. He wrote to his wife in a letter that is archived in his presidential library and museum. Quote, "I jumped up and put on my bathrobe, opened the door, and no one was there. No one there," he wrote. "Went out and looked up and down the hall, looked in your room, and Margie's, still no one. Went back to bed after locking the doors, and there were footsteps in your room, whose door I'd left open. Jumped and looked, and no one was there. The damn place is haunted, sure as shootin'. Secret Service said not even a watchman was up here at that hour. You and Margie had better come back and protect me before some of these ghosts carry me off. So that's the president of the United States in 1946. Like,
That's the president
Yeah.
of the United States in 1946.
Yes. So
Wow. How could you not, like, come on.
yeah.
He literally begged, was this for his wife?
He wrote a letter to his wife.
He basically said to his wife that she better protect him.
So this article goes on to say, do you want to read?
It goes on to say, in addition to its political ghosts, the White House has long housed unsettling specters of a different, more bump-in-the-night kind, if numerous former leaders and their staff members are to be believed. Whether one embraces or mocks the paranormal, the many accounts that have spilled out of 16,000 Pennsylvania Avenue over 2 centuries give ghosts an undeniable place in the country's history. They also make the address arguably the nation's most famous haunted house.
Yes. The sightings, which have been documented in eerie detail by scholars and newspapers, involve a former president who appears when the nation needs a leader most, a daughter who pleads in vain to help her doomed mother, and a first lady who is sadly perpetually stuck doing laundry.
Jared Broach is the founder of the company Nightly Spirits, which offers tours of haunted areas in several cities across the country. But when Broach started his tours in 2012, he offered only one, the White House.
The White House has the best ghost stories, and I'd call them the most verified, Broach said. Honestly, we could do a 10-hour tour if we really wanted to. One of his favorite stories is about David Burns, who sold the land where the White House sits and whose voice has been reportedly heard in the Oval Office. I'm Mr. Burns, Broach would say during tours when he got to that part of the story. Asked if he believed in ghosts, Broach said, for sure, and then pointed to the more prestigious authorities. If I said no, I'd be calling about 8 different presidents liars, he said. One of them would be Abraham Lincoln. He reportedly received regular visits from his son Willie, who died in the White House in 1862 at age 11 of what was probably typhoid fever.
Mm-hmm.
Mary Todd Lincoln, who is so grief-stricken by the loss that she remained in her room for weeks, spoke of seeing her son's ghost once at the foot of her bed. That there are also reports of her hearing Thomas Jefferson playing the violin and Andrew Jackson swearing.
After his assassination in 1865, Lincoln apparently joined his son in his phantasmal roaming. First Lady Grace Coolidge spoke in magazine accounts of seeing him look out a window and what had been in his office. Many more sightings would come in the decades and presidential administrations that followed. Queen Wilhelmina of the Netherlands was sleeping in her Lincoln bedroom in 1942 when she reportedly heard a knock on her bedroom door, opened it to see the bearded president, and fainted.
So yeah, we'll pause. I just picked this article because it's in the Washington Post, and it's just like these are like world leaders that are saying that
this is just like an example of what we mean when we say that you don't have to be crazy to believe in ghosts. I feel like a lot of people, when they say that, when they hear someone say that they believe in ghosts, they kind of look at them like, oh, you're very like crazy, or but these are world leaders. These are people that have authority, that have also had their experience, and who knows who else.
Yeah, so I'm not going to read the entire article, but I do want to read about Winston Churchill. So 2 years earlier, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, according to accounts, had just stepped out of a hot bath in that same room and was wearing nothing but a cigar when he encountered Lincoln by the fireplace. "Good evening, Mr. President," Churchill reportedly said. "You seem to have me at a disadvantage." In his research, Broach said he found that Lincoln seems to be the most common visitor among the White House ghosts, and also the one who carries the greatest burden. So, Prime Minister Winston Churchill obviously is a very prominent figure, and he saw Abraham Lincoln. So yeah, a lot of people have witnessed.
This is a very
Ghosts.
interesting but long article.
Yeah. So I'll link it in the description if you want to read the rest of it. But I just thought it was cool that it's in the Washington Post. And it's a pretty recent article, too. So, the White House. So that pretty much does it for our hotspots in the U.S. There's like tons of more haunted locations.
A lot. And a lot of them aren't even famous.
Yeah.
This is, local places as well. But now we're going to be moving on to famous ghosts. We didn't know how else to kind of
describe it.
Yeah, but these are just kind of like urban legends of ghosts, of stories that people have carried out throughout generations.
So first we're gonna talk about the Hat Man. We mentioned him when we were talking about shadow people. So he's a shadow person, and he's been seen by tons of people, including our co-host Destiny. Do you want to tell us about?
Yes, I will tell you about this experience. So I was about 9 or 10 years old, and I was at my cousin's house, and she lives in an apartment, and she lived on the second story. And we were having, my family and her family, we were having a barbecue. And she had, even though she lived in an apartment, she had, this small backyard. And so everybody was down in the backyard, and I remember this very vividly. My cousin and we went upstairs into her apartment because I guess she wanted to grab something or I don't know. I don't really remember why we went up there, but she just wanted to get something, and I went with her. And this was during the daytime as well. And we went into her bedroom, and I remember she grabbed something, and she ran away. I guess because she wanted to leave me for fun, because she was trying to mess with me. And she left the front door open, and the way her apartment was set up, there was light coming through from the front door all the way to her bedroom, which was the room I was in. And I don't know what happened, but I froze because all of a sudden, I see, the bedroom is dark because she has the light off, but there's light shining into the room, on the wall. And I see, and I'm never going to forget this, I see a shadow of a man wearing a hat running, across her wall. It was the weirdest thing ever, but I remember that so vividly. And he went from one side of her dark wall, it ran across the lightened wall, and then it just disappeared into the darkness. And I remember I ran out of that apartment so fast, but I'll never forget that. And I didn't even know about shadow people or about the Hat Man until years later. So
yeah, and basically how we were describing earlier, that shadow people don't like to be seen, and they usually run away and are in the corner of your eye. So that pretty much
it happened in a split second, but I remember it.
Yeah, so the Hat Man.
I don't forget the hat. The hat you can't forget, but that's the Hat Man, and a lot of people say that they have seen him.
Yeah. The next famous ghost that we want to talk about is a Mexican legend.
Has to do with our culture.
Yes, she's a Mexican legend. She's also a Mexican skinny legend. La Llorona.
La Llorona.
So La Llorona is a ghost who cries and wails. She's also known as in English the weeping woman, or that's what it translates to. So the reason she cries and stuff is because she lost her children. They died. And I believe they drowned.
But this is where a lot of the theories come in. A lot of people say that she killed her children, or a lot of people say that her husband killed them, or they just drowned. So and basically what this urban legend says.
Yeah, we're reading off the Wikipedia page. I will also link this. So, according to this, The Mexican legend goes that in a rural village of Mexico where lived a young woman named Maria, Maria came from a poor family but was known around her village for her beauty. One day, an extremely wealthy nobleman traveled through her village but stopped in his tracks when he saw Maria. Maria was charmed by him, and he was charmed by her beauty, so when he proposed to her, she immediately accepted. Maria's family were thrilled that she was marrying into a wealthy family, but the nobleman's father was extremely disappointed he was marrying into poverty. Maria and her new husband built a house in the village to be away from his disapproving father. Eventually, Maria gave birth to twin boys, but her husband was always traveling and stopped spending time with his family. When he came home, he only paid attention to the boys, and Maria knew her husband was falling out of love with her. One day, he left and never returned. Years later, as Maria and her boys were walking by a river, she saw a familiar carriage with a younger, beautiful woman next to her husband. Maria was so angry and confused that without thinking, she picked up her two boys and threw them into the river, drowning them. Only after she saw their bodies floating in the river did she realize what she had done, and she jumped into the river, hoping to die with her boys. Now she spends eternity looking for her children around the river. It is said that if you hear her crying, you are to run the opposite way. If you hear her cries, and they could bring misfortune or even death. Also, if you are a child, be extra careful because La Llorona is attracted to children, thinking they are hers. Since she thinks children are hers, she tries to drown them. Children should not walk alone around this river. Just in case, many parents in Mexico use this story to scare their children from staying out too late. So yes. So
we can relate to this.
Yeah, our parents would use this stuff like that to scare us. But yeah, some people say that this is a legend. Basically, what it said at the end, that adults used to scare kids into not being out late, or some think it's actually real.
Yes, a lot of people say that they have seen her, and the thing about this legend is that they say that she haunts a specific river in a specific village in Mexico, but a lot of people supposedly people have seen her in different parts of Mexico at night, on the road. And there's even videos of sightings of her.
Yeah. So, La Llorona, she's a legend. I personally have never experienced anything.
Never seen her, but I've always been scared.
Yeah.
We go to Mexico a lot, so it was... that would always be in the back of my head, on road trips over there at night.
Yeah.
Seeing her. But yeah, be on the lookout for her if you ever go there.
Or if you have any experience with the Hammond or the Llorona, tell us below. We would love to read your stories. So the next famous ghost and last one we wanted to talk about was Annabelle, the haunted doll, whose story has been adapted into a movie.
Yes, several movies.
Yeah. So Annabelle is in a museum from the Warrens, which were the investigators that are in the movie Annabelle. Yeah, so you can actually visit her. I don't want to visit her because they say if you make her angry, you'll die.
Literally, there's a story about that.
Yeah, there actually a guy was basically kind of mocking the doll.
Mm-hmm. And he was with his girlfriend, and she was telling him to stop, and he was just mocking it.
And then later that day that he went to the museum, he died in a motorcycle accident.
And his girlfriend was completely fine, and he died.
Yeah, that's crazy. So those are famous ghosts. Obviously, there's more. Way more than this, but...
A lot more.
Yeah, so to close this podcast off, this is our first podcast, so it's probably not going to be that long. So we apologize for that because we're still getting used to this. So to close out, do you believe in ghost destiny?
Yes, I 100% do believe in ghosts.
Like I said, I think I'm more of a skeptic. I want to believe in ghosts, I did believe in ghosts when I was younger. But I guess I'm more skeptical. But I still enjoy learning about or hearing people's stories because I find it really interesting. I've experienced a lot of weird things that I can't explain, but like I said, we're gonna save that for a series that we're gonna do.
Yes. I definitely, like, for me, I'm skeptical when it comes to some things, but I think I've experienced enough to believe in them. I haven't seen one, and I do not want to, but I have experienced a lot of weird things, and it's also just like, you know, our parents have experienced things too, and it's just like, I don't know, it's hard not to believe in it.
But yeah, so if you guys have any ghost experiences, please write down below in the comment section because I really want to hear your guys' stories.
Yes, and we might even include them.
Yeah. So if you guys, that's another thing, have any personal stories, please email us at our email that's going to be below in the description, because we plan on doing like a bunch of different things on this channel, podcasts, like kind of like top 5 most haunted.
We also want to go like adventures, vlogs,
like kind of documentary / vlog things, and we also want to read creepypastas.
Yes,
or like stories of your guys', kind of like
Mr. Nightmare.
Yeah, Mr. Nightmare.
I love Mr. Nightmare.
Mr. Nightmare is another inspiration of ours. But yeah, so if you guys have any personal experiences you want to tell us that want to be included in a video, make sure to email us.
Please.
Yeah, so this is the end of our first podcast.
Yes. Thank you so much for listening.
If you listened.
if you got this far,
yeah,
thank you.
Yeah. We haven't figured out what we want our next episode to be on, but we have a lot of ideas. We just haven't settled on which one. So stay tuned for our next podcast or for our next video. Yeah.
Yes.
Have a nice day.
Thank you. Happy 4th of July.
Oh yeah, happy 4th of July.